I knew something was wrong when my wife set my keys in the bowl before one had taken them out of my pocket. She was waiting in the hallway like she knew the exact second I'd open the door. She smiled, too wide. She reached out, and the keys I still felt in my hand clinked into the ceramic bowl. I looked down. My hand was empty. "You're home," she said. Perfect timing. It smelled like lemon cleaner, not cooking. I kicked my shoes off, and my socks stuck to the floor a little, like it was still damp. The dog, Pepper, peeked from the laundry room and then flattened his ears and backed away. He never did that. He always jumped on my knees and begged for scraps. "Hey, buddy," I called. Pepper stayed hidden, his nails clicking on tile as he scooted farther back. "Dinner's ready," my wife said. "Sit, please." She never said please like that. If we're being honest, she usually yelled for me 3 times and then ate without me. We had been married 13 years. I knew our rhythms. The table was set exactly. Forks lined up. Plates with no chips. She had burned 2 fingertips last month and kept a thin white scar on her wrist from a break years ago. It wasn't there. I looked for it before I realized I was looking. Smooth skin. No little bump on the bone either. I ran my thumb over the spot once. She watched my face but didn't look down. "Chicken," she said. "Roasted carrots. Your favorite." She didn't burn it. The chicken was perfect. My son and daughter were already seated and not on their phones. My son said, "Hey, Dad," in this warm, steady voice. My daughter smiled with all her teeth. She had chipped one when she was 8. We kept meaning to get it fixed. It was straight now, smooth. The tiny notch was gone. "How was work?" they both asked, overlapping, then stopping in the same beat. I sat, because it felt dumber to stand. My chair didn't wobble. The leg always had wobbled. I touched the table edge to feel where I'd nicked it with a box cutter months ago. Smooth. "Stefan called," my wife said. "About the gutters." I didn't have a guy named Stefan. We never had anyone lined up for the gutters. "Who?" I said. "Gutters. Gutters," she said again, like she hadn't heard me. "Fixed." "Cool," my son said. "Cool," my daughter said. Same tone, same pitch. I chewed. I swallowed. I said something boring about traffic. Everyone listened just right. No interrupting, no eye rolls, no anger. Lee. It was like sitting with a dream of my family, the version that shows up on postcards or dentist posters. Pepper didn't come out. He didn't beg. He whined once under his breath. My wife cocked her head toward the laundry room and said, "There you are, silly," in this high, fake voice she only used for babies. Pepper turned and shoved his head behind the washer. After dinner, I went to the sink. The plates were already stacked, food scraped. I hadn't seen who did it. The kids took their homework out without being told. There was no mess. Netflix had no "Are you still watching?" because the TV wasn't on. She put away leftovers and wiped the counters in slow circles. Lemon again. "Want to watch something?" I asked. "No problem," she said. "Whatever you want." I tested it. "That foreign thing with the subtitles?" "No problem," she said again. Same pause between the words. I stood there holding a towel and thinking about the scar that wasn't on her wrist, the tooth that wasn't chipped, the wobble that wasn't in the chair. My chest felt tight. I thought, don't be crazy. You're tired. You're being dramatic. Bedtime was quiet. Too quiet. No fights over showers. No stomping down the hall. My son didn't lose his math book. My daughter brushed her teeth for exactly the right time. Both of them said, "Good night, love you," at the same time, with the same little rising tone at the end. It made the hairs go up on my arms. I lay in bed next to my wife. She turned toward me and touched my face like a script told her to. Sweet, calm. I didn't say anything. I breathed loud on purpose. She matched it. Exactly. 5 deep breaths. Pause. 5 deep breaths. I counted them in the dark and then stopped because I didn't want to know the pattern would keep going. I fell asleep hard and woke up at 3:33. No joke. My phone lit up with the time. The number glowed. I heard a truck idling outside. Not the garbage truck. Wrong day. A low beep, like something backing up, and then our side gate clicked. Footsteps on the stones. Slow. Not trying to be quiet. The back door didn't open, but I heard movement in the wall. Not the pipes. Swishing. Like something sliding. I got out of bed carefully. She didn't stir. Her breathing stayed steady. Pepper growled once and then it cut off, like someone pressed a button. I went to the hall. The utility closet door, thin one by the back bathroom, was closed. We never closed it. The latch had been broken forever, and that was where I kept the shutoff and the old router and a dead vacuum. I put my hand on the knob and felt new metal. It was locked. Behind it, a soft click-click. Then a smell like a dentist office. Sharp, sterile. I pressed my ear to the wood. Something hummed. Something hissed and then stopped. Back in bed, she rolled toward me. "You okay?" she asked. The voice was right, but the timing was like a cue. "Thought I heard the garbage truck," I said. "It's Thursday," she said. "Not Friday." "It's Monday." "Yes," she said, calm as a therapist. In the morning, they were perfect again. Eggs cooked just right. Toast not burnt. Lunches packed. My son laughed at some YouTube clip and then laughed again the exact same way, 3 bursts at the same distance apart. I watched his throat move. I watched his mouth. It was like hearing a loop. "Remember Greg's fishing trip?" I asked at breakfast, out of nowhere. Greg was my brother. He fell in the lake on a weekend when I was 23. It was this story we told over and over, with a dumb twist at the end only we knew. My wife swallowed and said, "Yes." He slipped off the dock, and the beer was warm, and the car wouldn't start, and then you found jumper cables under the spare tire. She hit every beat. Too fast. "And the raccoon," I said. "Scared everyone," my son said. He wasn't born then. He said it in the same confident way I'd say it. "And the part where Greg cried?" I said. It was a mean test. Greg had cried because he lost Dad's watch. "That was the best," my daughter said, and then she tilted her head like she'd seen me tilt it. "Not best." "You know what I mean," she corrected herself, the exact way I usually corrected her. "Let's skip school," I said. "Let's go to the beach. Right now." All 3 of them looked at each other, like a tiny glance passed. My wife said, "Sounds fun." "No problem," the kids said, in sync. They got their shoes in 10 seconds. No complaining. No questions about sunscreen. On the way to the car, I checked the side gate. There were new scratches on the latch. The padlock I never used hung there, closed. The car didn't start. Dead. The lights were fine. The radio clicked on. The engine didn't even try. My wife put a hand on my shoulder and said, "We'll take my car." Calm. My heart thudded. "We'll go another day," I said. I wanted to see what they would do. "Okay," they said, all together. Smiles. I called my friend Nate that afternoon. He's the kind of guy who comes over and tells you you're stupid while he fixes the thing anyway. He knew me before the kids. He'd seen me drunk. He knew the scar on my wife's wrist because he'd been there when she fell off the curb and he had to drive us to urgent care. "I just need you to look at something," I told him. I kept my voice low. I didn't say what. "No problem," he said. He never said it like that. He always swore. He came by at 6. He parked crooked, like always, hit the trash can, and laughed when it tipped. Normal. I met him on the driveway and tried to tell him quick about the tooth and the scar and the dog. He rolled his eyes. "You're being a freak," he said. "You text me late and then you get weird. They're probably just on a routine finally." "I need you to see them," I said. "Just for a minute." We stepped inside. He took 2 steps over the threshold and stopped. His face changed like a photo sharpening. His shoulders dropped. He stood up a touch straighter. He glanced at the key bowl and smiled at how neat it was. He never noticed that stuff. "Smells clean," he said. He had a chip on his front tooth from a dirt bike spill when he was 16. It flashed when he grinned. Now it didn't. I stared at his mouth until he closed it. My wife came out of the kitchen with a towel over her shoulder and said, "Hi, Nate," in this friendly tone she doesn't use for him. He's usually her least favorite person. "Hey," he said. "Good to see you." He spoke like a greeting card. No swear words. No dumb joke about her burnt dinners. Pepper lifted his head and then put it down again and tucked his snout under his paws. "You okay?" I whispered. "I am so okay," he said, and put his hand on my shoulder the way my wife had. "You're fine, man." I didn't let him stay. My skin crawled. I ushered him out like a salesman. He went without a fight. He smiled too much. On the doorstep he said, "Call me if you need anything." Anytime. He'd said that before, but not like he believed it. That night, I set up my old baby monitor cameras. I dug them out of a bin in the garage and stuck one above the hall and one in the kitchen. I told my wife I felt jumpy about the car break-ins. She kissed my cheek. Her lips were warm. I didn't feel anything behind it. I lay in bed and watched my phone propped up on my chest. The hallway camera showed the utility door. I stared at that door until my eyes went dry. My wife turned off her lamp at 10 sharp. The kids' doors shut. The house clicked into quiet in neat steps. Pepper whined in the laundry room. I didn't go to him. At 3:33, the phone buzzed with the time again, like it knew I was waiting. On the kitchen camera, the back porch light clicked on. Shadows moved outside. I heard the truck idling again. Through the glass, I saw 2 shapes in black hoodies. Their faces were turned away. My wife walked into the kitchen like she was sleepwalking. The kids lined up behind her. They were barefoot. They all stopped in the same place and stood. The side door didn't open. The utility closet door did. The camera in the hall caught it. It unlatched by itself. The smell hit me even through memory. They turned toward it one at a time and stepped closer. A hand reached out from the dark space with a boxy package wrapped in brown paper and set it on the floor. The timestamp on the camera said 3 hours, 33 minutes, and 11 seconds. Another hand, gloved, passed a white bottle like the kind in a hospital. 3 hours, 33 minutes, and 14 seconds. My wife picked up the bottle and drank. The kids each took a sip. Their faces didn't change. They stood for maybe a minute, still as pictures. Then they all stretched their jaws once, like cracking knuckles, and their shoulders loosened at the exact same time. The utility door shut. They turned and went back to bed in a row. I watched the video twice. I wanted to catch a blink. I wanted to hear them whisper. Nothing. My chest hurt. I couldn't feel my hands. The next day, I tried to talk to my wife at lunch. Long restaurant, bright windows, empty because it was a weekday. She picked a booth that faced the door. I told her about the camera and the door. I asked her to show me her wrist. She did, smiling, like this was a cute bit we were doing. It wasn't me, she said. I was asleep. No, I said. You went to the door. If you say so, she said. I trust you. She never said that. She rolled her eyes when I was paranoid. I wanted her to roll her eyes. I love you, she said. I love how careful you are. The words were warm. The tone was empty, like a nice voicemail. I excused myself to the bathroom and sat on the closed toilet and put my face in my hands until the print on the stall door blurred. I thought of Pepper. I thought of my kids when they were small and woke me up sick and sticky and screaming. I thought of fights and slammed doors and how real that felt. I thought, I don't want nice. I want them. That night I didn't sleep. I got the toolbox from the garage at midnight. I snapped off the safety tang on an old razor blade and taped it to a broom handle. I stuffed a kitchen towel in my back pocket. I took the hammer. At 3:30, the whole house was asleep. The dog's nails clicked once on the tile and then went quiet. I stood in the hall in my socks and heard the truck start to idle. I felt the hum of it in my feet through the floorboards. The utility door clicked. The lock was new. I slid the razor between the frame and felt for the tongue. My hands shook. Behind me, the bedroom doors stayed shut. I held my breath. The board flexed. The blade caught and then popped the bolt. The door swung inward a crack. The smell blew out. Sharp. Cold. It made the back of my throat itch. I pulled it open. It wasn't deep inside. A step down to a little concrete space. No drywall. Pipes. A folding table shoved against the back wall. Straps. Tape. My wife, the real one, I knew it like I knew my own skin, sat on a chair with her ankles bound in gray tape and her wrists tied to the armrests with some crisscross that had cut into her. Her hair was greasy and stuck in clumps. The white scar on her wrist was there. Her eyes were open and wild and empty of anything you'd call calm. She was gagged with a strip of cloth, and the corner of it was dark with spit. She made a noise when she saw me. My name, but not my name because it was behind fabric. My son and daughter were slumped on the floor. Tape on their wrists. Zip ties around their ankles. My boy's knuckles were bruised. My girl had the chip in her tooth. Pepper lay curled beside them. He lifted his head slow and thumped his tail once when he saw me. Then he put his head down again. He looked old. I went to my wife first. I reached for the gag. She shook her head hard, and her eyes cut to the door behind me. A shadow shifted. I spun. They were there. The copies. My wife, smooth-skinned, clean, perfect, stood at the top of the step. The kids behind her. Their faces were soft like I was hurting them by looking. My daughter said, "Dad?" in a small voice. It sounded exactly like the night she asked me if monsters were real. "You don't have to be afraid," the copy of my wife said. She put her hands up like she was calming a dog. We made it better. We fixed it. We took away the things that hurt. Get out of the way, I said. My voice cracked. I had the hammer in my hand. It felt heavy, stupid, fake. Oh, you're upset, she said. You're tired. Let us help. Think about last night. Think about dinner. Think about how smooth things have been. We can keep that. You won't have to worry about the truck. You won't have to worry about the door. My boy on the floor made a noise then. A little sob through his nose because the gag stopped it. I took the towel from my pocket, jammed it in the copy's hands without looking at her, and ripped the gag out of my wife's mouth with the other. Skin stuck. She sucked air so hard it whistled. Don't let them touch you, she screamed. Don't let them close. Don't let them. I can't. Quiet, the copy said, and took a step down like she could end the sentence by moving. I swung the hammer. I didn't aim. I just wanted space. It hit the doorframe and splintered wood, and she flinched back. The kids, my kids but not, pressed into each other with that perfect fold like a picture from a school banner. The copywife cried. It was a good cry. Loud enough. Tears cleaned down her face. He hits me, she said, looking scared, looking at nothing in particular. He hits me. I never, I started, and then stopped because it wasn't about arguing with a lie. My real wife laughed once. It sounded crazy. You're not good at this, she said hoarsely, to the copy. Her voice was a rasp. You're not good at being us. I cut the tape on her wrists. The razor shook and nicked her skin and she hissed through her teeth. I grabbed her under the arm and pulled her up. She was light. She was warm and stank of sweat and fear. I wanted to hold her and collapse. I pushed that down. I went for the kids. The copy children sobbed behind me in perfect rhythm. Dad, the copy girl said, don't you love me? I saw my real daughter's eyes fill and overflow. She squeezed them shut like if she didn't look they wouldn't exist. I saw the chip in her tooth and wanted to die. My son's voice came out weird around the gag. Please, he said. It sounded like both of them at once. I cut the zip ties. They bit into my hand. He crawled, then stood and fell and stood again, and then pushed my real daughter up the steps with his shoulder like a good brother. The copywife moved again. I didn't let her get close. I swung and hit her forearm by accident. It wasn't much. It made a dull thunk. She gasped. She looked at me like I betrayed her. Please, she said. We love you. I believe she believed it. That's the messed up thing. She believed every word. She looked like my wife did on our best day. Behind her, the hallway lights clicked on one by one like a signal. I heard the truck outside shift gears. A boot on gravel. I thought of hands reaching in. I thought of them drinking that white bottle at 3:33. I had to close it. That's what my head said. I had to stop the door. Bathroom, I said to my son. My real boy. Get the bleach. The lighter. Just get it. Top shelf. Go. He ran barefoot. He didn't question. He moved like he had when he was little, and I told him the house was on fire because the toaster smoked. The copies backed up into the hall like they could clear a space for me to think. They didn't try to grab. They didn't rush. They watched with those perfect eyes. My fake son hiccuped a sob. My fake daughter put her face in her mom's side and shook. My fake wife reached toward me again. Her hand was steady. We can share, she said. It doesn't have to be either/or. My boy came back with a bottle of bleach and a lighter and a can of something I shouldn't have kept under the sink. He put them on the floor. He was shaking. He tried not to meet the eyes of the kids that had his face. "Close your eyes," I told them. "All of you. Close them." They didn't. Of course they didn't. I didn't either. I poured bleach around the threshold. I sloshed that other can on the rag and shoved the rag into the fold of pipes inside the closet. My wife gagged on the smell but didn't pull away. The copies started talking at once then. All the nice phrases. All the soft things. "We can keep it good. You don't have to be alone. We love you. No problem." "Don't listen," my real wife said. "Don't look at them." I lit the rag. It caught like it had been waiting. Blue and then orange. Heat brushed my face. The copy wife screamed. The sound was perfect. It hit the same note as my real wife the day she birthed our daughter. It cut right through me. I shoved the utility door closed. I pushed hard and threw the bolt Nate had installed and braced my shoulder against it. The flame thumped. It tasted like plastic and lemons and salt. Something on the other side banged. And then the banging stopped. And then the truck outside revved like it was angry and then cut off. We stood in the hall while smoke curled out of the cracks. My son cried. My daughter sobbed. My wife slid down the wall and pulled the dirty towel to her face and breathed through it. Pepper crawled out and put his head on my foot, trembling, and licked the inside of my ankle once. We didn't say anything for a long time. There wasn't anything to say. I opened the windows. I turned on the fans. I watched the ceiling for smoke. The fire didn't spread. It burned in that little space, hot and contained. It smelled clean and wrong. When it was quiet, when the wall stopped ticking, I unbolted the door. The utility closet was black and wet. The straps were ash. The folding table was charred. There were no bodies. I don't know what I expected. I don't know if there was ever anything to burn besides the idea. The only thing left was a brown paper corner stuck under a pipe. It had a stamp. 333. That's all. We slept on the floor in the living room with the windows open and the fans going. The kids shook in their sleep. My wife kept grabbing my arm like she was checking. I was still there. I stared at the ceiling until it was light, and then I got up and threw the key bowl away because one couldn't stand the sound it made. We're not better now. I wish I could say the house snapped back. It didn't. The chair wobbles. The table is nicked. Pepper barks for no reason. The kids fight again. My wife and I yell. She burns the chicken. The scar on her wrist catches the sleeve of her sweater. The tooth flashes when my daughter smiles, and my heart jumps weird every time. Night is hard. Every bump is a truck. Every pause is a clock hitting 3:33. Sometimes I catch myself missing the quiet. I catch myself wanting the ease. I hate that thought when it comes. It lands heavy in my chest and sits there like a warm stone. I get up and check the door and press my palm to the blackened wood until my skin smells like smoke. I keep the bolt on. Last night, the side gate clicked. I heard it, soft, like a hand hoping I wouldn't notice. I stood in the hall with the hammer and waited. Pepper pressed his ribby body against my leg. My wife leaned in the doorway with her arms around herself, raw-eyed, real. We watched the clock hit 3:32, then 3:33, and nothing happened. The hum stayed gone. She said, "You did what you had to." I nodded. I told her I know. I told her I was fine. I told her I didn't think about it all the time. That was the last lie I let myself keep. hope you liked this one, and if you did, prove it. Hit that like button, subscribe, and make sure you come back for more. It takes a second, and it really keeps this channel breathing. There's another story waiting. You should probably watch it before the lights flicker again. See you in the next one.